31 points, 14 rebounds, and 3 assists per game whilst shooting 60% from the field. Those numbers alone would make this Victor Wembanyama season one of the greatest ever, until you realize he's also averaging nearly 5 blocks and 1.5 steals as well. But the craziest part is, none of these numbers come close to doing Wemby's impact justice. This number, however, might give you a better idea. 22.4. That is the difference in net rating with Wemby on the floor versus off the floor. With Victor Wembanyama on the floor, the Spurs have the greatest defense we have seen since, funnily enough, the 2004 Spurs. With Wemby off the floor, they would have the worst defense in NBA history. That right there is the Victor Wembanyama effect, and it goes beyond any points, rebounds, and assists that you can see in a stat sheet. No one has ever done what he does on defense. Let me change that actually. No one has ever done what Victor Wembanyama does, full stop. Just like here where Clowney attacks the rim and Wemby comes over to block the shot, which is a pretty normal play from a center. But what isn't normal is on the follow-up, look how quickly he gets back up to then block Terrence Mann. And this is where the alien stuff happens, because after the missed 3, Wemby then collects the ball, and I'll just let you watch.
Wembanyama wants it. From the logo!
Never has someone had this combination of size, reflexes, timing, fluidity. How do you even explain what is happening on that play on both ends of the floor? But it's not even the blocked shots that are the craziest part of his defensive impact. Look no further than the Spurs' recent win against the Toronto Raptors. In that game, Wemby had 1 block. And you might look at that and think, that's kind of disappointing, right? I mean, he's 7'6", he can get more than 1 block. Well, in that same game, the Raptors had an offensive rating of 72 with Wemby on the floor. Guys, that is 40 points lower than their current offensive rating. That is 35 points lower than the worst offensive rating last year. And do you want to know why? It's because the Raptors spent the entire game trying to avoid that huge man standing in the paint. Just look here where Ingram kicks it to Walter, who pump fakes Bryant, and normally this would be a perfect opportunity to either stop for a floater or get all the way to the rim. But normally, you don't have an alien in front of you, and instead Walter stops and panics, throwing the ball out of bounds because of Vic. And it's pretty much a carbon copy on this play, where Mamu gets the ball at the 3-point line. Again, he gets past the first defender, but when Wemby sticks his arms out, he's either forcing the turnover himself or forcing you into turning it over. Or this time, with RJ Barrett having the ball out top, he drives past Vassell, and like every other player, he does not want to try Wemby at the rim, so instead he forces a pass, and it's a turnover. Do you now see why Wemby only had 1 block? The only reason Wemby finally got a block that game was because the game was pretty much out of reach, and RJ Barrett decided to finally attempt a layup, which was promptly denied. And if you want any idea as to how suffocating it is to play against a Wemby-led defense, this is what a Brandon Ingram fan account posted. Yes, that is pretty much the closest you can get to dunking on Victor Wembanyama. Well, that is aside from the game when Zion dunked on Wemby.
Z gets there! First play of the game!
And should we discuss that? Because that was also a very, very fun matchup. If you saw the highlights, you probably saw this. The first play of the game, Zion Williamson decided, I'm a freak of nature as well, so let me drive straight at Wemby and throw it down. Now, let's be honest, you can see Wemby get caught on the screen, which threw off his timing, but Zion Williamson is almost one of the most freakish athletes ever. So if there's anyone capable of dunking on Vic, it is Zion or it is Giannis. That is probably the entire list. Well, a minute later, this time there was no screen. It was one-on-one Victor Wembanyama versus Zion Williamson. Zion attacks hard with the in-and-out dribble into Wemby's body, and even with the reverse, Wemby just swats it like it's nothing. But Zion then quickly recovers before putting it back up, and it's blocked again. This guy has one of the best second jumps ever, and Wemby was treating him like his child. 2 minutes later again, Zion gets the ball, and again, he tries to reverse around Wemby, and it's the same result. And just in case you haven't seen enough to prove this man is unlike anything we've ever seen, let's run it back one more time. This time Zion tries a different approach. He tries to just bully Wemby under the rim, and he moves Wemby a bit, but when you have a 12-foot wingspan, it doesn't matter as he sends him back again before Zion recovers, tries to get around Vic, and then throws it out of bounds because he can't attack the rim again. Keep in mind, we have watched Zion absolutely fry Rudy Gobert. We have seen him fry Anthony Davis, Giannis, all of these guys, and Victor Wembanyama went out there and made him look like a child, an AAU player on some of those possessions. And I'll say it again, we have never seen a player like Victor Wembanyama. And I anticipate that the 5 blocks a game he is currently averaging will go down. The casuals will look at his numbers and think he's regressed defensively, but those numbers are going down solely because players are going to start to realize, and they already have realized, you just can't attack him at the rim. If Zion Williamson can't do it, I don't know who else can do it. And the best part is, the Spurs players are also starting to recognize what is happening. They're starting to realize that teams are going to panic whenever they get to the rim and see Vic standing in the way, which means every other player on the Spurs has a chance to force a turnover because of Vic's defensive gravity. And the numbers are reflective of all of this fear, with teams scoring 10 less points in the paint on average this year against the Spurs than last year. And let's be honest, 70 of those points are when Wemby goes to the bench. Now, this is the scariest part for the rest of the NBA. The Spurs finally have a good backup center, and this is what people don't realize, and this is why advanced stats can be important. Because last year the Spurs were a very good defense and a good team when Wemby was on the floor. Everyone saw the record and their defensive rating and assumed he wasn't impacting winning like he could be. No, they were just awful when he went to the bench. And I know I just told you how bad they've been this year. That is largely because Luke Kornet has missed a few games, and Bismack Biyombo is terrible. But with a healthy Kornet, a healthy Jeremy Sohan who is yet to return, all of a sudden the depth in the front court is going to mean the Spurs are the best defense in the league with Wemby on the floor, and they're at least average with him off the floor, and that alone makes them elite. And I just mentioned it there, but the most ridiculous part is they're missing their second best defender in Jeremy Sohan. Once he comes back, once Luke Kornet is healthy, De'Aaron Fox might not be an all defensive level guard, but he also has incredible anticipation, and if you want someone to capitalize on those steals created by Wemby's defensive gravity, he could do that. This team is only getting better on both ends of the floor, and Victor Wembanyama, I mean, he's just the biggest reason for it. And another reason for it is who they just drafted. He is special. If you want to hear me talk about Dylan Harper, click here. If you want to hear more content on the Spurs or the NBA in general, subscribe. It's free. Dropping a like would be cool. Have a great day.